upside down. The state took that money, so we weren't able to build a second one. But it's awful. I mean, and the other part of that is we've got to stop running business out of the state of California with lawsuits and different frivolous things like that. We need to be more business friendly and promote them and give them breaks and push our enterprise zones so that we fill them to the max. We've got an enterprise zone out there. We don't have anything right now. And we've tried to get one, and we finally got one.
Mr. Tarver.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move on to Supervisor Go.
Thank you. We have to get people back to work. And how do we do that? We have to create a business-friendly environment where we can attract jobs here. Without having that, people aren't going to come here. We were delighted that recently Dollar General, Caterpillar had chosen to come here to the Tohoe area that Mayor Tarver was talking about. They looked at, when I was talking with Caterpillar just the other day, they looked at 60 to 70 different locations, but they chose us because what we've been doing is creating a business-friendly environment where we're getting government out of the way and removing barriers to their progress. So what we're trying to do here is to make sure that we're not throwing up obstacles such as slowing down the permitting process. Recently, we gave a very firm directive to our department heads that it is their job to create a business-friendly culture and remove barriers to economic development. They will all be evaluated on that, no matter what business they're in. Training absolutely is essential. Recently I was at a job fair and they have 1,500 jobs that are unfilled because people are not trained. And so by creating private-public partnerships, by being able to connect people through training, we can make those things happen and get them back to work. But that's an essential ingredient. Education also is essential. Starting at an early age where we can provide our young people the skills that they need to move into that job, into those jobs. We hear from our Career Services Center that so many people do not have the jobs, are not able to get the existing jobs because they don't have the skills and the education. So that has to be combined. But firstly, we've got to keep creating that business-friendly environment, getting government out of the way. Government does not create jobs. The private sector, you all in the private sector, you're the ones who create the jobs that are essential for unemployment to be reversed. I'm committed to continuing to work to that end.
Thank you, Supervisor Go. And actually, you're up next on this 7 question. Question number 7 reads, the local chapter of the American Society of Engineering Companies recently released their infrastructure report card and gave the county a D+ grade. What would your infrastructure priorities be if elected? And how would you work to achieve them, especially as it relates to the communities in the 5th District?
For our county to thrive, we have to have all of those essential ingredients. Water, a healthy environment, transportation, jobs, healthy families. All of that makes up who we are. I am committed to moving ahead as I have in the last year in focusing on jobs because really that's what's going to bring back what we need in this community. We have to reduce our crime because that's fundamental actually to the overall infrastructure. If we have crime going on, substance abuse, that's not going to allow our community to thrive. So working through prevention efforts, again, to reduce our substance abuse, to reduce crime, and promoting education. Do we need water? Absolutely. We have to continue in all our state efforts to make sure that we're getting the water that we need because we cannot build more houses without jobs. We cannot have more industry. We cannot have greater farmland. We cannot have greater agriculture without jobs. So continuing to work with the state to make sure that we have access to water, making sure that our roads are well maintained. We're making choices. We're making very, very difficult choices here with roads. We just do not have the money as we did before. So we're asking people to prioritize, and we'll continue to do that.
Thank you, Supervisor Go. Mayor Tarver, you're next.
Okay.
Should I repeat the question?
Go ahead, please.
The local chapter of the American Society of Engineering Companies recently released their infrastructure report card and gave the county a D+ grade. What would your infrastructure priorities be if elected, and how would you work to achieve them, especially as it relates to the communities of the 5th District?
I just attended a meeting yesterday in regards to future planning and what direction the city of Largo needs to go. And one of the recommendations from the folks that did the presentation was that we go with smaller streets. The smaller streets take less money to maintain. The larger streets cost quite a bit more to maintain. As far as the crime rates go and those types of things, if you don't have a job, those folks don't have anywhere to work, they're going to get into problems like stealing and doing things like that. But, to be honest with you, it's our own fault. If we'd stop running business out of the state, and again, I'll say it again, encourage them to stay in our state, there perhaps would be more jobs to go around. But one doesn't work without the other. You don't want any crime, but you don't have any jobs. So what are folks supposed to do? Not even when the prison lets people out, do they train them? You talk about education, do they give them any education in there? No. They just kick them back out. So what do you think is going to happen? So that's pretty weak infrastructure because we don't have a plan that fits the whole board.
Thank you, Mayor Charter. Ms. Perez, you're next. Would you like the question repeated?
No, thank you. One thing we don't talk about very much, because it isn't as exciting and glorious as some other subjects like crime and things that affect our district, is our infrastructure needs. The fact that we received the grade that we did is unacceptable because private industry, in order to move their goods, agricultural goods and otherwise, must have the streets and the rail passes in order to link into the larger transportation corridors throughout California to move our goods to the available markets. It's not the most exciting topic, but the reality is that it affects our ability to compete here at the local level. So what do we have? We have a pool of money that we cannot magically make grow. We have to determine what our asset allocation is going to be in Kern County. And I think that the discussion about our infrastructure has got to be had openly, publicly, and we have to partner with private industry so that they can inform us what are the transportation increases and infrastructure increases and improvements they need to be able to tap into the larger lifeline. And how do we then work with our abutting counties, Tulare and Fresno, to ensure that we have a clear stream of goods movement, to get us to the Bay Area, to get us to the major ports in this country to be able to compete. Our ability to compete directly is connected to our infrastructure, the quality of our roads, and the quality of our larger regional transportation plan. So we have to have that conversation with private industry. We have to bring them to the table, and we have to bring in Kern Cog and say, what are the challenges that you're facing with overpasses and increases in transportation, and how can we partner with private industry to ensure that they can connect in, they can move their goods, and continue to increase jobs here in Kern County. Every supervisor has their community development block grants, and we get to determine how we use those funds. Top priorities for me, quality of life issues in the district, such as sidewalks, infrastructure, sewer, but also private industry infrastructure improvements, because that's how we're going to get this economy kick-started back again. It's exciting, we can do it.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. And we're going to move on to the next question. And this question was emailed to us more than once, a few times. Mayor Carter,
yes.
What would your priorities be if you were elected as the 5th District Supervisor?
Well, like I mentioned before, number one priority is jobs. You got to figure out where to put those back. The other thing is that there's a lot of streets in the 5th District that don't even have curbs and gutters for over 50 years. You have water issues that need to be worked out. You have sewer issues that need to be worked out. So those key elements, those things need to